Battlefield Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Ola aka ChalkOne from Battlefield Podcast. This is episode 150 of Battlefield Podcast, and we're doing this as a special midweek edition because we're going to be talking about the Battlefield 4 trailer that was released late last night. We got a couple guests with us to talk about it. First of all, I will reintroduce you to Tim aka Darkness49. Hey Tim.
Hey guys.
Tim's a little bit blurry for some reason with Skype today, but we couldn't quite make it happen. It was either him or everybody else. So, speaking of
everyone else, so
yeah, so everybody else makes up Cory, aka Pr3sident from Battlefieldo. Hey Cory, how's it going?
Hey, how you guys?
You were on the podcast a while ago. I don't remember exactly how long ago it was, but nice of you to come back.
I was in my girlfriend's bedroom and it was pink. For those of you who remember,
I remember that.
It was awesome.
And also joining Cory from his partner in crime from Battlefieldo is Josh.
Yes.
First time on the podcast. Hey Josh, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. So, Battlefield 4, 11 o'clock Pacific time last night, they released the 17-minute gameplay trailer. Of course, it was preceded by a big event with a bunch of people everywhere in Stockholm and in, what was it, in California somewhere. What do you guys want to talk about first? Cory, I'll throw it to you.
We can talk about the trailer if you want, or the news leading up to it. It's up to you guys. I mean, do y'all want to talk about like the hype and all the rumors that were before, and what stuck maybe, or you want to go through the trailer?
Yeah. Why don't we talk about the kind of the hype and the stuff that was talking leading up to Battlefield 4? There were a lot of rumors and stuff that didn't really match up.
Yeah. So pre Battlefield 4, you know, EA always leaks like a sinky ship. There's a lot of stuff that comes out. Josh has a lot of good sources. I have some good sources. You know, sometimes it's reliable, sometimes it isn't. But we try to filter out the bullshit. You know, but the one thing that did kind of come out that I was wrong about was the poster. You know, I didn't think that thing was legitimate at all, but, you know, after seeing some of the posters at the events that people were tweeting in Stockholm around 6 or 5 our time, you know, I guess the poster was real, but...
that wasn't necessarily our fault. We had different sources in EA, half of them which said it's real, half of which said it's not real. So... you know, we didn't want to confirm or deny it. So
It's going to be kind of difficult in the beginning when you have all these different sources and everybody's telling you a little bit, and there's probably a little bit of truth to each of those rumors, but I guess you don't want to be the site that posts something as certainty and then it turns out that it wasn't, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's why we kind of put everything out, you know, as we put a disclaimer on everything and say, you know, this isn't confirmed officially, but, you know, the chances are if we're posting about it, you know, from our experience with the Battlefield community and just as, you know, from doing this for the last 2 years, we, you know, it's either come from someone who we really trust and who we can rely on, or, you know, we believe it to be real. So if it's on the site, then, you know, it's pretty solid with few exceptions.
All right, so the trailer
I guess
itself...
the other thing that was...
Go ahead.
The other thing that we kind of were talking about pre-Battlefield 4 was the, you know, ability to play, or that there would be female characters in the game. And, you know, that kind of came out today that, you know, Lars Gustavsson kind of shot that down, so that's not going to happen. But apparently there is a female character in the campaign, you just can't play her.
Yeah, that was interesting. I guess it was good of them to clarify that right away. There's been a few things that they haven't clarified, and, you know, once the rumors start flying, you probably get into situations where it would just have been really easy for somebody to say, like he did in that article, just saying, you know what, yeah, not playable in multiplayer. Simple as that.
Yeah, it's nice for them to come out and say stuff, you know, but it seems like they did that so that the rumor didn't continue. You know, I think they like the rumor mill to go around in these stages as much as possible, but I guess some things marketing wants to shoot down immediately, and some they don't. It seems sporadic.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the trailer a little bit. I want to get you guys' opinions on it. And I think Tim's camera is not looking too bad. So Tim, why don't you tell us a little bit about the trailer first and what you thought of it while I move you up above the lower third there. There you go.
Okay, in a nutshell, a 17-minute trailer looked really good. We saw a lot of new features that I don't think we really were expecting. Things like double sights on an assault rifle, having that Medal of Honor twist. It was a little surprising, to be honest with you. I wasn't really expecting to see the scope and iron sight switching back and forth like we had in Medal of Honor Warfighter. I was really impressed with Frostbite. I don't think it's really Frostbite 3, but it definitely looks like Frostbite 2.5. There are a lot of things that I can see that they've improved on. Destruction looks a lot smoother. It looks faster. I always had this feeling with Destruction in Battlefield 3 that it was a little slow. Just the way the rubble fell and whatnot just didn't feel right. Let's see, what else did I really like? The weather effects, these dynamic weather effects you're talking about. We really only saw things with like the ocean hitting the break wall and then the water kind of like splashing off onto the windshield, things like that. That'd be really cool to see if they can somehow play that in with the multiplayer. But a lot of this was single player. A lot of this is just for the campaign. There are a lot of questions that are still yet to be answered for the multiplayer aspect of the game, which is where all the gameplay is going to be. That's what Battlefield games are known for, is the multiplayer experience, not the single-player campaigns. So overall, I'm excited for it, but it still left me with wanting more, which is probably what they wanted to go for. They wanted to kind of dangle the bone in front of you a little bit and get you hooked.
Yeah, I mean, they've always done that. I think they did that in BF3, and we know that the single-player campaign in BF3 had some really cool effects as well. Like, I'm thinking of the scene where you're taking off in the jet off the carrier, and you had weather effects and stuff there as well. None of which carried over into multiplayer, of course, but it was a very pretty trailer. It was well done. It's sort of an intriguing kind of campaign. It's very Battlefield-like. But like you said, I would imagine that most of us are looking forward to seeing some multiplayer footage and seeing how much of what we saw in this trailer actually will be in multiplayer, which is probably where, at least if you take the word of the poll on Battlelog that asks who's most excited, what you're most excited for, single player or multiplayer, and it's something like 90% multiplayer. I think that's what people are looking for. Josh, what were your thoughts on it? And I apologize because now you're the one with the bad camera.
That's okay. Yeah, I agree with what mostly Tim said. It actually is Frostbite 3, believe it or not. There's some documents that I've seen showcasing PowerPoint files, showcasing some of the new destruction in multiplayer, and it looks incredible. Similar to Bad Company 2 type destruction. So yeah, I'm very excited. I wasn't too thrilled with the single player trailer, mainly because, like Tim said, Battlefield is not known for its campaign. And but I'm really excited because in about a month and a half, we will get to see a little bit of the MP. So yeah, that's all I got for now.
What about you, Cory?
I'm happy with single player. I'm glad to see that they're not going to mess around with the co-op mode stuff. I never was like a huge fan of the co-op things, other than they get the weapons and stuff. And they did kind of come out today and say that there won't be co-op mode like there was in Battlefield 3. And I think that single player is great, but people don't play Battlefield for single player. People play Medal of Honor for single player, and the Battlefield experience is one of epic proportions. Lots of people, lots of stuff going on, and it's the community. I think a lot of people are excited about the new stuff that's in the campaign for the Battlefield 4. I hate to call it a trailer because it's almost like a movie at 17 minutes. But I think, I think the hype train really starts and people really start getting excited when, multiplayer footage drops and not just, scripted. I love Roland and Noken and all those guys to death. I think they do great stuff, but not just scripted multiplayer footage, but just raw, straight out multiplayer footage. Not a whole lot of, staged events, bike chases and stuff like that. That's where you get the sense of the real game and how things flow. And, they definitely showed off enough to get you excited about Battlefield 4 in the single player, but in total EA and DICE tradition, they didn't really show you what you wanted to see on day one. They want you to keep coming back to the site. They want you to keep coming back and checking all their media outlets to see what's next.
Yeah, and that was pretty clear with the little teaser trailers that they released in the days leading up to this, right? Like the 10-second things of a little bit of a tank or a little bit of a helicopter or whatever. So it's pretty obvious that they were going for that effect. Was there anything in the trailer that, or let's just call it the gameplay footage, was there anything in there that stood out to you that surprised you either as something that you weren't expecting or maybe there was something that was missing that you thought you would have seen? One of the things that I noticed when I watched it a couple times, and I was looking at Destruction in particular, was that there was a couple scenes where the player was actually taking damage from flying debris, which was kind of a new thing, which is kind of cool. What do you think, Tim? Was there anything that stood out to you like that?
Watched it twice, and I was...
That's not true. You've been watching it for the last 8 hours taking notes. I know that.
Yeah, right. I think the thing that stuck out the most for me was that kind of disappointed me was the recycling from Battlefield 3. Player models and animations were very close to Battlefield 3. So I hope, because it's still in very early alpha stages, that they wanted to rush something out to give hope to the community and to the public. So they just had to recycle some things just to get this out the door. Hopefully we'll see different types of knife animations. Things like, I think one of the coolest knife animations that I remember from the alpha footage from Battlefield 3 was when the guy came up behind the enemy he was going to knife, and he kicks the knee out and grabs the guy down to the ground and then knifes him. It was more detailed in the takedown, kind of like Medal of Honor Warfighter. Those takedowns were very detailed. And I really look forward to that. I was impressed with some of the new weapons that they showed off to us, like the semi-automatic grenade launcher. That was really cool to see. Josh, one of your tweets from last night made me laugh, and I think it still holds true to this, is that the Battlefield 4 video looked like Medal of Honor and Battlefield 3 made a baby. And that's what this is. I noticed a lot of things that were recycled from Medal of Honor Warfighter and were put into this game, which was kind of depressing because it feels like it takes away from the originality of Battlefield 4. To me, it almost seems like EA took all of Danger Close's material, shut him down, and gave it over to DICE and said, here you go. So hopefully I am very, very wrong with that. What do you guys think?
Well, you're not wrong. They did take some ideas. Danger Close and DICE actually worked very close together the past few projects. And, they started using Frostbite and Medal of Honor on Medal of Honor 2010. So, I think because the game failed so hard after a month of being out that, they said to themselves, there was some unique stuff in here. Let's, while Danger Close is getting its stuff together, which is going to take time, let's go ahead and throw that into another game. And I think they're doing it right. Hopefully they don't throw in things such as the map sizes for Medal of Honor, because that would be pretty bad. But yeah, I welcome the stuff, with dual sights, the similar animations that was in Warfighter. So I'm up for that.
What do you think, Cory?
I think, if they're going to if they're really going to, what Tim said about the character models and stuff, there's really nothing original there. I mean, even some of the characters in the campaign are characters that we've seen before. and they're familiar. Even the camo, and the fatigues and all the stuff that they're wearing, it's familiar to Medal of Honor, and it's familiar to Battlefield. And now that EA has shut down Medal of Honor for a while and put that on the in the Disney Vault, as I say, I think that there are going to be some elements that Battlefield picks up, because they realize that most of their market, most of the Medal of Honor market was and is Battlefield fans. So they're probably saying to themselves, why can't we take all the aspects of Medal of Honor that people love, the epic campaign, the realism, and incorporate that into Battlefield, which brings the epic, massive battles, multi-role combat situations, jet, infantry fighting. And I think I'm not pessimistic about it at all. I loved every single aspect of every campaign Medal of Honor game that I've played. And I really, really have loved every Battlefield game I've played. So to see them make a baby, like Josh said, I think it's awesome. I think that, they're calling it Frostbite 3, but it's probably not. They're probably just saying that for marketing purposes. In 2 years, you can't have that huge of an engine leap. First of all, the hardware is just not necessarily there. But yeah, I think it's going to be good. I am actually very optimistic about Battlefield 4. And, I think if they're going to do things right, they need to learn from their mistakes. They need to look at the Get Satisfaction webpage. They need to look at what people have complained about the most on Battlelog, and really gather some social media feedback and see what they messed up on with the F3. I can tell you right now, netcode is one of them. Nobody likes running around a corner and getting shot,
Right.
half a second or a second later. They've got to really address netcode. The other would probably be input lag across all the platforms, especially PS3. That went unchecked for 10 months before it was actually addressed and resolved for Battlefield 3. They got to listen to the community, and the thing is this community is so big and it's so great, and there's so many diehard veterans, and there's also new people coming in, and I have played games ever since I was a kid, and all you guys have too, probably. I mean, if you're a gamer, you've probably always been a gamer, and if you're not, then welcome. But if a game manufacturer or a developer or a publisher even is going to succeed, they have got to listen to the community, and I think they've done a pretty good job so far with that. But we had Daniel Matros for Battlefield 3. We don't have a DICE CM right now. We've got Ian, we've got Crash on the EA side, which is good. He's a veteran. He's got experience. And we've got Alan Kurtz. He listens to the community a lot. But, you've really got to be able to gather feedback from all your areas. You can't just look at Reddit. You can't just look at Get Satisfaction or Battlelog. You need people that are looking at the grand scheme of things saying, okay, wow, people are really pissed off about no battle recorder, So, yeah, if they can enhance on those things and really bring more features to the table, I think people can look past the fact that it looks like an evolved version of Battlefield 3, because there's so much that they didn't add that they can grow on,
Yeah, and we've talked about this before in the past, where we talked about what if Battlefield 4 is just a Battlefield 3.5, and my opinion's always been there's nothing wrong with that. If you take the core game of Battlefield 3 and you fix all the things, like some of the things you just mentioned, netcode, you add some new features. We've talked to Daniel Matros at length about some of the esports things that he would like to see happen in Battlefield 4. Obviously, player numbers on consoles are going to be sort of a hot topic for people who play on consoles. So why don't we talk a little bit about some of the things that we're looking forward to? And I don't know. I mean, they obviously haven't revealed a lot of actual features. It's just been, here's some footage. Have fun with that. But I think probably the biggest thing that I've seen being discussed online right now is whether or not this is going to come out for next-gen consoles. I mean, we know it's obviously been confirmed for Xbox and PS3 because you can pre-order it there. But what about what's coming next, and how does that affect the Frostbite engine's capabilities when they're still running on PS3 and Xbox hardware?
I play on console. I'm primarily a console player. I do play on PC from time to time, and I think that really, if you think about this, if they're going to release in September, like the rumors are saying right now, or fall, like they've advertised, I think they have one of two plans. Here's the worst case scenario, and that's that EA takes the scumbag approach of releasing the game on old generation consoles, waiting for the new gen consoles to come out at Christmas, and relaunching the game for new generation consoles at the same price with more features later in the year.
Like a Battlefield 4 HD or something like that.
Right. And with these new consoles, everything's going to cloud saves, cloud gaming. It's probably all going to be a digital marketplace. So, maybe they can sell it cheaper, or maybe they can see that you've activated your copy of Battlefield 4 and they're going to charge you, and if you want to upgrade to the new console version, maybe it's $20. That's the scumbag. That's the shitty approach that I hope is not being taken. The optimistic approach that I've been having and I've been tweeting about is, let's be patient. Let's see what happens in April when Microsoft makes their platform announcement, and let's see if DICE adjusts their release date, or let's see if that fall release window fits into the new generation launch. Maybe it will. Maybe they're going to start selling, Xbox 720s and PS4s in September, and Battlefield will come out a couple of weeks later. But at this point, it's way too skeptical to start trolling and hating and being negative about it, in my opinion, because we just don't really know, right? I hope to God they really don't release the game on regular generation consoles and then charge us more to upgrade. That would drive me to buy a computer and to play on PC all the time.
Well, I had talked with this idea with our buddy Skinner Barkley, and they're going to do it. They would be stupid not to, from a business point of view, to wait until the next gen consoles came out would have been stupid. They still need to tap into the fan base that's PS3 and Xbox 360, that player base. And then, Cory, I really do think that they will have the PS4 and the Xbox 720 versions come out later, probably in the new year or in that Christmas time fiasco. I don't have a high hope for EA to not do something like that.
Right.
It's definitely
I don't think anybody does. I honestly, not to talk badly about EA, but I'm not going to act surprised if that happens.
Because when it comes down to it, they don't care about that aspect of it. It all comes down to the almighty dollar, and to them, that is the most logical way of doing it.
Right.
It's the best way to get the most bang for their buck.
Well, when you think about it from a business perspective, which is really what all EA thinks about, if you're going to focus on community management, you got to look at the studio, you got to look at DICE and Danger Close. Those guys are doing something. The publisher is worrying about resale value, marketing, statistics and demographics. The truth is, and honestly, if I bought Battlefield 4 and all of the premium content for the Xbox 360 in the fall, in September, if that's the release date, for $70, and I went out and spent $600 or $500 on a new generation console, why wouldn't I pay the extra $30 or $40 or $50 to upgrade my copy of Battlefield 4 and play with 60 people versus 24 or whatever?
Right.
That's of course I'm going to, because I'm a Battlefield fan and I bought the game on a shitty platform to begin with, so why wouldn't I do it again? It sucks for your pocketbook, but it's great for business.
Now, for those of us that play mostly on PC, or that we sort of consider the PC our main platform, one of the things we've heard about Frostbite before is that they couldn't use all the power because of the console. So do you think that's going to be different then? Are they going to build a more powerful version on the PC and sort of scale it back for current gen consoles while still reserving the extra power for the next gen ones?
I hope so, because playing Battlefield 3, it always felt like a console port. it always feel like there was always these limitations that never made sense. And you're like, oh well, when seeing someone play on console, like watching you play on console, it always made sense. I'm like, oh, this is why they did that because of this, because of the the only being able to push it at 30 frames per second and the graphic quality looking like it was a high-low or like a mid-range medium setting for graphics. It was not impressive to watch. So hopefully their main focus is like it used to be, primarily PC, and then thinking more of it on the console side later on. I know that's in my own little perfect world. They definitely wouldn't do that because they still, like I said, they have to focus on the console players, and they have to be able to sell the copies to them as well, trying to give them the most out of for their money's worth. For the gameplay. So
now
I don't know. I really hope that we aren't limited on the PC side because of the current gen consoles. I really do.
Now, you made a good point about some of the interface stuff looking very much like it makes sense on consoles and less so on PC. Josh, you play mostly on PC, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, we haven't seen much of the interface, but we've seen a little bit of the HUD. It's similar-ish to obviously what we're used to, but it's a little bit more cleaned up. There's some extra stuff in the top right that looks to be some sort of social / achievement type of bar. I mean, at several points during the gameplay footage, we can see things pop up, like saying, you're almost catching up to your buddy in this score or that score. What are your thoughts on what we've seen so far of the interface?
I like it. It's very similar, oddly enough, to the new Arma interface, and I like what they did with it. And there was an apparently leaked video of the interface about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I don't know if that was real or not, but it actually moves with the screen, kind of like Crysis. We didn't get to see too much, so I can't make a judgment right now. But yeah, from what I saw, I think they're headed in the right direction, and it'll be kind of cool if they can incorporate that into PC. But there needs to be an option to turn it off. Else you're gonna have a lot of pissed off people. But it would be cool to see a universal HUD, so you can see what you're doing with your friends or whatever achievements you're getting on PC and consoles. Because traditionally that's a console thing. So I'm kind of excited to see what's next in the MP stuff, and I'll make my judgment then.
Yeah, and actually somebody just mentioned in the chat, it's similar to it sounds like the bar that you have in SimCity, and it's not dissimilar to that, actually. It makes sense. It sounds like, obviously Steam's got achievements, obviously Xbox has achievements, PS3 has trophies. It seems like the cool thing to do. It seems like, more and more systems want to get into that. Now you got these achievements in SimCity, so maybe Origin is moving in that direction as well. We lost Cory. But
I really hope what this means is that we're going back to the in-game menu system, so that it's not so separated from single player and multiplayer. So single player, you had a in-game interface, and then multiplayer, everything was done through Battlelog. I hope that they do like what they did with Medal of Honor, where you had the ability to either choose a server from Battlelog or from inside the game itself. I really hope that, like Josh said, that you can turn off the social, I guess you can call it the social bar, because Ola, if you and I are constantly going back and forth for top kills in a match, and that thing constantly keeps on blinking on and off, I'm probably going to punch my monitor.
Well, and also, I mean, it's one of those things that if you're recording footage, and we do that, a lot of people do that, whether it's recording stuff for YouTube, whether it's live streaming, a lot of those things you don't want to pop up because they're just annoying. They take away from it. I mean, on Xbox, you can turn off notifications so things don't pop up like friends requests and all that stuff. So there's got to be a way to do that, and hopefully this is some of the details that they'll be considering. And when it comes time for the beta, which is going to be in the fall, which is the exclusive beta, which I call bullshit on because pretty much anybody who's ever bought anything from EA somehow managed to get into the exclusive Battlefield 4 beta. Hopefully, it's one of those things that I hope that the beta isn't just a for show beta where it's, here you go, play. If anything's majorly broken, tell us. Hopefully it's more along the lines of give us feedback. We actually want to hear what you think so that we can still make some tweaks to it, not just fix the big problems, right?
Right.
What do you think, Josh? What do you think the beta is going to look like? And I don't know if I can barely get him on cam because Cory left. Go ahead, though.
That's fine. Traditionally, well, not traditionally, but BF3, the beta was actually a demo, and I think that it's going to be the same in this case. It'll probably look a lot better than BF3 beta, but then again, you have the marketing guys at EA that run everything, so we'll see. But my judgment for now is it's going to be a demo in disguise.
Yeah. So what else do we have that we know about Battlefield 4, or rumors that we want to know about that we have yet to find out? You mentioned earlier that you think maybe in May or so we might see some multiplayer footage. So timing-wise, that sounds about right. When's E3?
I'm not sure the dates for E3, but my guess is in between May and the middle of June. Just from the chatter that I'm hearing from inside EA, that's when we'll probably see a very short teaser or some sort of insight into the MP.
Now, you can pre-order Battlefield 4 now, which started last night, which is interesting because you can do it right on Origin and pay a bunch of money, or you can go to GameStop. Do you have your dog tags handy there, Tim? Did you bring them?
Yeah, I do. I have them right
You should
here.
show them off. Hold on. Let me actually fix this camera for you. The unfortunate part is that every time that somebody drops out from the call, it resizes all of Skype, and now all we see is Tim's nose. So go ahead. You can keep talking.
Oh, okay. So, if you guys didn't see the YouTube video I posted earlier on this afternoon, I went to GameStop and pre-ordered Battlefield 4, and they were pushing out a promotion for getting the dog tags that we kind of saw teased to us last night on Twitter. So what they are the Prepare for Battle, and let's see if I can get my webcam to focus in on this.
A little further back.
There we go.
Yep.
Prepare for Battle, and then Battlefield 4. So cool little dog tag, and it comes in this shiny little package along with let's see.
I love how
here it
you.
is.
By the way, I wanted to comment on that. When I watched the video, you called it a shiny little package, but isn't it just like one of those bags that peanuts come in?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
pretty much.
Sure. Yeah, we'll call it a shiny peanut bag with Battlefield 4 on it. And then the other thing that came inside of it was this little piece of Battlefield 4 paper that has the origin code for you to get all the Battlefield 4 in-game bonus content, and then also the expansion pack. So that code activates it all, and then once the game is activated on the release date, then that'll all come together and make a wonderful Battlefield 4 baby.
Yeah.
That's about right.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds about right. So yeah, you can pre-order that now. It seems awfully early, and I've seen a lot of people comment on, I don't know if I want to give EA my money or even commit to something when I've seen so little of it, which is probably a valid point, because most of us will probably want to play it for multiplayer, not for the single-player campaign, and we haven't seen any of that yet. But, pre-orders don't end. I mean, they always say that there's probably limited supplies to those dog tags, but a lot of the other features that you get, whether it's, access to the beta or some in-game download, they tend to run those promotions right up until a couple of weeks before the game will actually launch. So
Exactly.
I think there's a huge rush, unless you want to get one of those dog tags. I could imagine that they'll actually run out of those because they're physical items that they have to ship out to all the GameStops. It's not just in the U.S., by the way. That's EB Games in Canada. Yeah, there's an EA help link somewhere that you can get it in the UK, you can get it in Germany, you can get it all over the place at certain retailers, which is kind of neat. But I was actually hoping to see some more, because I'm going to buy at least 2 different versions of this. So I was kind of hoping for 2 different pre-orders to get a couple different cool things, but it sounds like at this time that's the only physical item that you can get.
Right. Other games, the one that comes to mind, the most recent game that came out, Assassin's Creed 3, had a really cool pre-order content that you could get through GameStop. It was a tin case really nice tin case that had a bunch of cool material. It had a poster, some character renderings and whatnot. So things like that kind of makes the pre-ordering process a little more special. Something like a dog tag is cool for someone who absolutely loves the Battlefield series, like I do, and like other diehard fans do. But for Joe Schmo, these things might not have a lot of meaning behind them. You know, I've put in, God, almost 7 years of my life into the Battlefield series because I love it so much. So like those are special to me, but for other people, maybe not so much. So I feel like if they would have handed out some cool lithographs, or maybe like when Guild Wars was released, they had the little like Char statue that you could have gotten if you pre-ordered at the right time. So things like that, I think, would have made the pre-ordering process a little more special.
Right.
That's just my take on it.
What do you think, Josh? Do you think there's going to be what would you suggest to people? Like, what are your plans as far as Battlefield 4? I mean, obviously, I think it's safe to say you're going to play it, but are you going to hold off for a while? Are you suggesting that people wait to hear more news? Like, what's your stand on some of the? I mean, there's so much information we don't have yet, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to. And obviously, they want you to commit to buying it as soon as possible, but there's so much left unknown still. What are your thoughts?
You talking to me? Or
Yeah.
Tim?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, sorry, you, Josh.
No, my advice to everyone right now is to hold off. EA's made a lot of mistakes over the past few years. And when they throw this out, when they throw the pre-order out the day after the reveal, that's not necessarily them saying, hey, buy it now. It's just, it's a window for them. So, then again, my honest advice, hold out. You got 8 months, 9 months until release. Just wait and see, because, if it's very similar to BF3, a lot of people aren't going to buy it. That's just the way it is. So for a lot of people, it's going to have to be something very unique, a lot of new features. They're going to have to prove that Frostbite 3 is really there. So that's what I'm going to do, even though, I don't know if they'll send it to me for free like they usually do. But, my advice, hold off for just a bit longer.
So, what else do we know about Battlefield 4, or what else don't we know that we should talk about? You guys got any suggestions? Maybe somebody in the chat, if you guys want to throw anything out that you guys think we should discuss.
Yeah, that would be good.
Battlefield Premium keeps coming out. That's one thing I keep hearing about. Do you think they're going to continue that with the Battlefield 4 Premium? I can't see how they wouldn't, but what are your thoughts?
I didn't hear the first part of your question.
Battlefield Premium. We just had the last premium video for Battlefield 3 Premium. Do you think they're going to do the same thing for Battlefield 4?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to say I know that, but you can look forward to it. The premium thing is actually going to be in Battlefield for quite a while, even on side projects for their next set of games. So look forward to it. Look forward to more games being added to Battlelog. So with more games being added to Battlelog, you can expect the whole premium package thing to expand. So it'll be there.
Cory, are you back?
I'm back.
Cory's back. We were just talking about what we about premium for Battlefield 4, the pre-orders, sort of opening it up to the chat for what they want to talk about. Naval warfare was one thing that was brought up. Do you think that's going to happen? I mean, yeah, we saw a boat in the water in the single player, but my biggest caution to people is this is single player stuff. If you go back and watch any kind of single player trailer for Battlefield 3, it is nothing like the multiplayer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I think they've teased us too hard to leave us. First of all, they did the C promotional little clip with this, with the torpedo or propeller, whatever the hell it was, right? And then they put up the carrier image. Then they showed us a campaign with the, I don't know. It seems more aggressive, and also their marketing campaign is, what does all-out war mean to you? So I think they've realized, wow, we've never really focused on naval warfare in a Battlefield game. Maybe that's something we can branch out into. So I definitely think that we're looking at something. I don't necessarily think it's going to be, submarine to submarine warfare, but I definitely think we could run into a situation where instead of having an AC-130 gunship on station in a battlefield situation, maybe we'll have a carrier or like an Aegis class destroyer or a cruiser with, cruise missile capability. You lays the targets, and some guy that's sitting on the destroyer can fire cruise missiles or something. I think I definitely am of the belief that we're going to see some serious naval stuff going on in Battlefield 4.
Yeah. I mean, it worked well for 1942. We saw, the ability to control naval ships like destroyers and aircraft carriers, and that was really cool. You were able to use planes that had torpedoes in the bottom. You could destroy the ships and sink them. So things like that, they've already tried, and I thought it worked really well in 1942, and that was the last time that we saw it up until potentially now. So it's nice seeing that make its way back to the Battlefield series.
Yeah, and it's that saying, it's what does all-out war mean to you? Well, all-out war to me and to everybody who has a brain is air, land, sea, and maybe space if you like Han Solo. But, let's not go there. But, I definitely think it's going to happen, and I think it's going to be freaking awesome because, I've always said, every time I play Battlefield 3 with my buddies, I'm like, it would be awesome instead of having a gunship if there was a destroyer sitting out there with cruise missile capability or something, and then, it would be cool. Hypothetically, how awesome would it be if you capped Charlie, right, and you had control of a destroyer, and then if the enemy team capped Echo, and that gave them control of an attack sub, and you had to use one or the other to take out, what if instead of having one focal objective on a map like a gunship in Battlefield 3, what if there were two and they counteract each other? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
So, what's next? What do you guys predict is going to happen next? When we're going to see some more teasers? Are we going to see? Are we going to get to see some more actual feature specs, like even just a list of some more details as to what's going to happen? I mean, nothing's been confirmed yet as far as how many maps, how many weapons, how many vehicles, how many factions for that matter. I mean, we've seen obviously Americans, we've seen parts of Chinese factions. I guess we've seen the Shanghai skyline. You guys did a good analysis of that at Battlefieldo.com of all the teaser images that got posted. What do you think's next over the next, let's say, the next month or so for Battlefield 4? Why don't we start with Josh this time?
All right. Yeah, expect to get teased more. I personally don't know what's coming next, but my guess is there will be some new artwork, and it's going to be very similar to BF3. It all started in March of whatever year they started marketing BF3, but from my understanding of talking to some of the EA guys, it's going to be on the same time scale. So if we can look back, and I think the next big event for BF3 was at E3. So probably my guess would be expect some teasers, nothing major, and then at E3 we'll probably get slammed with something big.
Yeah. What about your plans for Battlefieldo.com? I mean, it's interesting to see a site that goes through, with Battlefield 3, we go through phases where there's not much new, right? We went through, every 3 months we get a DLC, and that's it. Now, Battlefield 4, obviously, a lot's happened in the last just week and a half, 2 weeks or so. What can people expect to see over there? And, what are the sort of the plans for Battlefieldo.com? Cory?
So just to go back to what's going to happen, I think Josh has a good point about E3. E3 was huge for Battlefield 3. I think what's going to happen is really, honestly, and I know PC fans hate to hear this, I think what happens in the scale that it happens on is what happens, with the Microsoft reveal of the new platform. Sony's already put their dick in the wind, if you will, about what's going to happen. And Microsoft they're going to do it, and then either at E3, DICE is going to go crazy, and they're going to. I think we could possibly, before all that, I think we may see some minimum requirements, system requirements. I think that'll probably be out shortly, and I think that we're going to probably see some multiplayer footage before June, hopefully, at least at E3. Which will appease people. And I also think we're going to see a much, much heavier television marketing campaign this time on EA's behalf. If you look at the television time purchase in comparison to Call of Duty and Battlefield, they're not really close to being even. Call of Duty heavily saturates television and not so much on the internet, whereas Battlefield, they target the community that's been there the longest. According to some of the guys I've talked to at EA, I think the television marketing campaign is going to be a lot more intense for Battlefield 4 than it was for Battlefield 3. And as for the site, it's weird because we have busy days and slow days depending on what comes up. But now we're in the rush. We've been hiring a couple of extra people to come on. It's always hard to find people that will come on and will stay on and will help us. People, gamers, everybody goes through phases with real life. So we've got some really, really good people now, and I'm excited about the site. We're trying to kind of change our image. We've kind of at times have come off to appear too close to EA and to DICE, and Josh and I, we really just want everybody in the community and all of our fans, as well as all of the Battlefield community, to really know that, we only have one boss. If you go to Battlefieldo, you don't see advertisements, you don't see sponsors, you don't see advertising. We are not in this for the money. If we have a YouTube video or if we have a YouTube channel, money that goes from that goes to paying for the servers and buying stuff to give away. Nobody that works for us or Josh and I, as the owners of this thing, are interested in making money. We're here to serve the community, and that's what we're going to do. And we're not going to let our relationship with DICE or anybody there affect that. So you guys can always count on us to give you what you need, and we're working on some stuff right now that I think is pretty huge. We're planning out some events, and we're going to try and get some stuff hammered out this year. So it's going to be awesome.
All right, you guys got any other questions for Josh or Cory, whether it's related to Battlefieldo or anything else for Battlefield 4? We could probably sit here for another hour and analyze the trailer and the gameplay footage to minutia, but I don't know if there's a whole lot of sense in that. Obviously, everybody's seen it. There's going to be more, I'm sure, like Josh has said, over the next couple of weeks, small teasers, and I'm sure we're going to see lots more at E3. Hopefully, we'll see something about multiplayer soon. What do you guys think? Anything else, or should we sort of start wrapping it up and maybe just tell people where they can find everybody online? I know it's all in the lower thirds there, but what do you think?
Go ahead, Cory.
I just had some things about the trailer I wanted to throw out there, and you guys who follow me on Twitter and Battlefieldo and Josh, maybe we can have a conversation about this. But just some things I wrote down last night when I was half-assed crack awake. But one thing that I noticed was suppression in the campaign doesn't really seem to be that intense. I know that's come up. I'd like to talk about suppression. Will it be as intense in multiplayer? It's been a big, big complaint for people in Battlefield 3. And the other thing, I like the compass. There's clear indicators on north, south, east, and west, depending on your position. And it looks like achievements and progression occurs in real time from the campaign. I don't know if you guys saw, Carl, as he was playing at the event, and he was getting real-time achievements popping up in the top right-hand corner of his screen. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Did whoever was playing in the gameplay footage, it was obviously PC footage, and the point about the compass you made is a good one because it's in Battlefield 3, but I don't think I've ever gotten the hang of it really and been able to tell sort of directions easily. I've never been able to say, like, Tim, there's a bad guy northeast of you, because you just can't make it out. It's just too confusing. So that would be kind of cool. Was whoever was playing that, were they playing it with a game controller? Because it sure looked like the movements were from a controller, not the mouse and keyboard, which was interesting to me.
Yeah. Someone tweeted out today that there was someone who was at the event last night said that he was playing with a gamepad on a PC.
Interesting
That's
choice.
usually how it's done for presentations and trailers.
Yeah, and
It's
he normally plays the console too. Sorry, Josh, I didn't hear you.
That's okay.
But he's an Xbox guy, so he's always on 360, and I'm sure it's just familiar with him, and he doesn't look like a noob, on the video. But yeah, the compass, it looked like it was based on your team and its positions. If you look at that thing, it was kind of odd, because with Battlefield 3, you've got this static mini map with the static compass. Whereas this one kind of looked like it indicated where your teammates were, north, south, east, and west, and kind of gave you more of a bearing as to where your teammates were. But I don't know.
Yeah, in Battlefield 3, you basically had to do, navigation in your head. You had to look at the mini-map to see what direction you were facing, and then sort of, find the right angle towards north or whatever, just to get it right. It wasn't very intuitive. Somebody asked whether or not we'd like cross-platform gameplay. That's sort of a really big topic, but Tim's shaking his head. I don't know how well that would work.
It's not fair.
It wouldn't work.
It's not fair.
They tried it before. They tried it when the 360 just came out.
Yeah.
There was one game that came out that was cross-platform with PC and Xbox, and it didn't work. It still won't work. PC has an advantage over the consoles, and you'll hear about it all the time. The console players will complain about it. It's not fair to console players.
Yep.
Another thing that there's sort of three big things in Battlefield 3 that people like to complain about: suppression, the blue, and the sun. And it was kind of hard to see suppression, obviously, in a single-player trailer, but the sun's still there. But it looked less
filter,
blue.
though.
Yeah. Do you think that they're going to be making some changes to this? And do you think that people who have complained about suppression have screamed loud enough for them to make changes in Battlefield 4?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah. I think the suppression thing has been big enough, and it's been all over Get Satisfied. It's been everywhere. I mean, the suppression is great, but it was ridiculous in Battlefield 3. It still is ridiculous, and you play on the console with me from time to time, Chalk.
Yeah.
On the Xbox, it's even worse.
Yeah, you can be suppressed and then run around for the next 5 seconds with a blurry screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the blue tint, I don't know what the hell happened there. That you think somebody that was colorblind packaged it up and put it together, because the blue tint is just crazy. And I think they realized, it's like, wow, maybe the game would look better if not everything was blue.
Yeah, well, originally in the Battlefield 3 alpha, there wasn't a blue tint. It wasn't there to start with, and then it shows up at some point between the alpha and beta stage.
Yep. One other thing I noticed, and you guys can challenge me or check me out on this, at 8, around the 8:46 mark in the trailer, if you watch him reload that shotgun, he reloads with both hands. I don't know if the characters do that in Battlefield 3, but I noticed it just on as I was watching. I thought that was pretty badass. He reloads 2 shells with his right and then reloads some with his left. So I don't know, small things like that I noticed, because it's I think it makes it seem more realistic.
Yeah, you would think that a lot of the improvements, with the Frostbite engine, whether it's animations or destruction, are those little things. They're not going to be the big things like, oh my god, I can take out a whole building, because we've already been able to do that in the past. It's going to be small things like those animations that look more lifelike, or flying debris actually being able to hurt you a little bit. Not much, but I think everybody's had that moment where you get that 100% kill assist, and you wonder, like, I wish I could have just thrown like a pebble at that dude and killed him because that's all it would have taken. And maybe that could actually happen with whatever updated Frostbite engine they'll be using. So
You can pick up rocks and throw to people.
I don't know. That'd be cool. I've always said I want to throw my gun at people. I want to suicide and just take my gun and throw it at them when they have 0% health.
If you can cut a guy's leg off in the campaign and drag him, like, I don't know why you couldn't throw rocks at someone.
So I think no, just hear me out on this one. All right, you ready for this?
Oh boy.
Battlefield 4 is going to be a surgery simulator. Just throwing it out there. Just saying. Like, could you imagine in multiplayer? It's like Ola gets shot and like his leg, like he got hit with an RPG. His leg is just dangling off like like ground beef. So I gotta cut it off, and then I throw him over his shoulder, and I still have to go cap the flag. But I have to do it the right way, and if I nick his artery the wrong way, he's dead.
Do I get capture the flag assists if I'm on your shoulder?
Yeah,
without a
like
leg?
you remember how Yoda sits in the back of Luke Skywalker's, like on his back in the backpack? I throw you on my backpack, and we kind of like run off into the sunset. Just saying.
You only get 3/4 of points since you're missing a limb.
Oh God. Yeah, it's like Operation. If you don't get that artery patched up successfully or apply the tourniquet correctly, I think you start losing points.
Well, did you notice when he was dragging him off, like how much blood was coming off his leg?
Yeah, it was fucking graphic. Like when I watched that, I was like, holy shit! I watched The Walking Dead and I got kind of grossed out at this part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the one thing that they show at the beginning of all those teasers in the trailer is obviously the game's not rated yet, but it's expected to be rated mature, and yeah, pretty certain that that's going to happen again. So
there's no ponies or kittens in this one, huh? No?
I don't know about ponies or kittens. They probably might have some kittens just to, get the extra YouTube attention.
Another thing people kind of commented on was the health regeneration in single player. If you guys are on, if you're freaking out about that right now, calm down, because health regeneration in the campaign and Battlefield is always about what difficulty you're on, right? So if you're looking at that health regeneration going, oh my God, I can never play regular mode, I have to play hardcore now, like, calm yourself, because it's not going to be like that in multiplayer, I guarantee you. If anything, I think they're going to slow it down in core mode. I think the health regeneration right now is kind of crazy on Battlefield 3. I think it could come down by about 15 or 20%.
Do you think they're going to keep a lot of the core features of Battlefield 3 the same, like having a normal mode and a hardcore mode, having obviously Conquest Rush? Do you think they're going to include all those game modes that we have now, including Capture the Flag and the various superiority modes, or are we going to go back to just Conquest and Rush sort of as the basics to start off and then release them over DLCs again? Because I read about a fair bit of criticism about how adding all these game modes late in the game might have actually hurt Battlefield 3 because it's sort of like, oh, it's a little too late now. We don't really care anymore. Do you think there's going to be more of that in the beginning, or sort of same old, same old?
I think that since we already are familiar with it with Battlefield 3, they'd be stupid not to put it in Battlefield 4. Maybe not the entire package, like not like Gunmaster and the Conquest Domination, things like that, but definitely Capture the Flag, definitely Rush, definitely Conquest Large. And there's a huge community the huge part of the community that enjoys playing hardcore. A lot of people that came over from the Call of Duty side really enjoyed the hardcore gameplay. So for them to keep their attention, I think that they would have to keep the hardcore and softcore in the game.
Josh just raised his hand about hardcore. You play that mostly?
It's the only thing I play. I do not play softcore.
I only play softcore. Well, it's different on the consoles. On the consoles, it's extreme. A guy with a scope 44 Magnum can shoot you all the way across the Caspian border.
I like that,
but yeah.
I enjoy hardcore for the sniper rifle aspect of it. It's the only time I ever play hardcore is because a 50 caliber rifle should blow a hole in you the size of a watermelon. You shouldn't have to be able to take 2 shots, potentially 3, for you to die. So for that part of it, yes, I really do think that they need to kind of come back and reevaluate the damage aspect to certain weapons. Like I just said, with the 50 caliber Barrett rifle, that should blow a limb off. So that should be a one-hit kill, no matter where it's at, located on the target. There's several other weapons that should do more damage than what they do. Even if it is still softcore, I still feel like they need to come back and look at how much damage is applied with the weapons. I feel like it kind of takes away from the actual wartime experience, that whole being in a battle.
Do you think, I have an interesting thought on this, is that with the issues that still plague Battlefield 3 and all the new features, I realize my camera's getting dark, I'm too lazy to turn on the light, sorry, and all the new features that we're seeing about Battlefield 4, do you think we're going to see a lot of the same problems reoccur? Whether it's imbalances, stingers versus helicopters, netcode you mentioned earlier, Cory. Do you think they're going to have a lot of the same problems, or do you think they're going to have all those things fixed for the most part and still have the time to add all the new fancy stuff that sells the game?
It'll be there at launch for sure. There's always problems at launch with balancing and whatnot, but the good news is that I can patch it. It for some reason it took them forever to work out small issues in BF3. Like Cory said, it took almost a year to get PS3 input lag fixed. You can expect a lot to not be in your personal taste when it launches.
Yeah, I think console people need to be ready for it too, because not only are we going to be dealing with a new generation of a game, that'll probably come on 3 discs, honestly, maybe 2, 1 to install or 2 to install and 1 to play. Not only is it going to be a new game on an old console, but when the new consoles come out, it's going to be a new game on a new console. So you just got to be ready for the frustrations. And as long as, the launch will be fine as long as EA doesn't use their own servers. If for whatever reason EA decides to use their own servers, then God forbid it turns out like SimCity. But I hope that private server, I've always bitched about this from Battlefieldo, and I know a lot of you guys have heard me talk about it. There needs to be a better system for server rental, and to hold administrators responsible. If you're going to have a public face, if you want to fuck around and ban people and do knives only, then make it a private server. But on the consoles, it is so bad. I can't tell you how many times a night I get banned or kicked from a server for having a 7+ KD ratio. It's just bad. It's irresponsible. There needs to be we need to hold these people accountable. And I know they're paying and it's their money, and that's the defense that everybody makes. But the truth is just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you can act like an asshole, in real life. So why should you be able to do it in a game?
It's because you gave every 13-year-old the ability to buy a server for 2 days.
Right.
That comes back to the EA business model, that money whoring mentality that they have. To give everyone on console the ability to run a server for however long. I think, yes, it was a good idea to a certain extent. It gives people like Ola or other people who are trying to produce content who just want a server to do something for one night. Cool, you can just go and rent it. I would love to have the same thing for PC, but at the same time, there used to be a thing in Battlefield 2 called the Rules of Engagement, the ROE, and it was a guideline of how a server was supposed to operate. It was rules that were put in place by DICE, and it was saying this is how you're supposed to operate your server. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do pistols only, you can't stat pad, you can't do things like that. And that thing has been completely thrown out the window, and no one cares anymore. And like you said, Cory, I really do think that people should be held to a certain type of moral standard when it comes to owning servers. If not, they should be banned. They should have something done to them as a punishment for running that type of established server.
Yep. There just needs to be a consequence. For the longest time, we talked about developing like a Battlefieldo tomatoes for server. Like, we thought about having a site where you could come, put your server, have people give you reviews on it, but that stuff shouldn't be developed third party by a community. It should be in the game. I mean, if some guy's being a douchebag, I know his server is going to go away in 2 days, but tag it to his gamer tag. That way, the next time he rents a server, I can see, okay, maybe I shouldn't join this guy's server. He's got a 2 rating for banning people. And I know people will abuse that system, and, they'll just give, admins bad scores because, they're better than them or something. I know there's always going to be that level of childishness, but, just because people will abuse something doesn't mean that we shouldn't have these tools or processes in place. It ruins the experience. It's gotten to the point now where I won't play on any server unless it's in an EA or DICE server on the Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, in addition to refinement in the game, we'll see refinement around the game, whether it's battle log, VoIP integration on the PC side, server management tools even on the consoles as well, because I find them lacking as well. Running our own server, there's no way to send a message to everyone in the game. Every time that we want to take our server from ranked to private, we have to pretty much ban everybody that goes in just to be able to accomplish that. So hopefully those improvements will come as well. And yes, Tim, before I go completely dark, I think we're just about ready to wrap it up. Unless there's any final thoughts, but I think I want to thank you guys, both Josh and Cory, for taking the time out and talking to us in the middle of the week about Battlefield 4. And I'm sure we're going to have lots of more stuff to talk about in the coming weeks and months. And any final closing thoughts, Josh?
For me, really is, I agree. I've been watching the chat, and I agree with a lot of the guys on the issues of sniping and suppression. I don't have any words of wisdom for you of what they're going to do in BF4, but I think they've been listening, and I think that the opinions you guys have had in the chat are the opinions of the majority of the community. So, just keep up doing what you're doing. I know they fixed a lot from BF3 that's going to be in BF4, so just keep getting your voice out and be a good consumer.
Cory?
Yeah, just don't freak out. The Battlefield community, in my opinion, is much more mature than a lot of the other FPS communities out there. That's one of the reasons that I've always been as attracted to it as I have been. So, just realize that, most everything that's coming out right now is going to be a rumor, and there's not going to be a lot of official confirmation, and, take things with a grain of salt. Whether it's from us or from anybody, just know that the game is evolving. If leaked footage comes out, it's a work in progress. So don't freak out too much about the consoles or battle recorder, all that kind of stuff. They've been listening, trust me. And if they haven't, then you know what? This will be the end of Battlefield. So be it. But EA's ruined another franchise, but we won't know until it happens. So just be chill and play Battlefield.
All right, Tim, do you want to tell everybody where they can find us on the interwebs, Battlefield Podcast?
Oh, man, if you Google Battlefield Podcasts, we are everywhere. For direct links, go to battlefieldpodcast.com. You can go to youtube.com/Battlefield Podcast for all the latest and greatest in the Battlefield Podcast video content. iTunes.com, you can search for Battlefield Podcast for all of the previous episodes and upload them to your fancy schmancy iPod or iPhone. And all the other links you can find in the respectable places. So thanks a lot, guys. Josh and Cory for coming on.
Yep.
See y'all later.
Only in the respectable places.
Yeah,
That's
respectable places.
All right, we'll get this posted in the next day or two on iTunes and YouTube as well after I fix all the Skype-isms that occurred earlier. Thank you very much for watching, and thanks, guys, for coming on. See you next time.
Have a good night.